This video hides a disturbing secret. On February 13th, 2013, Loretta Saunders, a pregnant university student, stepped into an elevator and was never seen again. Her sudden disappearance shattered her family and left loved ones desperate for answers.
She's the strongest person I know.
The only lead? A mysterious surveillance clip that would trigger a 2,000-mile hunt and uncover a shocking web of deceit and betrayal.
It's one of those moments that causes your skin to crawl.
It was like a goosebump, kind of hairs on the back of your neck.
We needed to get Loretta. We needed to find her.
At 26, Loretta Saunders was a bright, driven university student, just months away from earning her degree. Despite living far from her family, who were all the way across the country, she stayed in close touch. She messaged her sister Delilah on Facebook nearly every day.
We Facebooked, we texted, we called each other. We were incessantly communicating. We were each other's #1 fans.
And at least once a week, she spoke with her parents over the phone.
She was a hard-working little girl. And she only had a couple of months left before she graduated.
She always wanted to please, and she cared for everybody. Everyone around her loved her.
Once she set her mind to something, it was going to happen.
Loretta was very caring, and she cared for everybody.
For over 2 years, Loretta had been in a relationship with Yalchin Circleté, an international student studying with her in Halifax, Nova Scotia. They were deeply in love and were expecting a child. The pregnancy hadn't been planned, but both were genuinely excited to become parents.
It was kind of a shock to her in the beginning. At first she was, Mom, I'm pregnant. What's I going to do? And I said, don't worry, babe, I'll quit working. I'll move out with you and take care of the baby. So she was going to take a year off after the baby was born.
She spent most of her time at Yalchin's apartment, just a short distance from her own. Loretta hardly stayed at her place anymore, choosing instead to rent out one of the rooms to a young couple. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, Loretta's sister Delilah was eagerly waiting for a message from her, maybe about a gift from Yalchin or their plans for the evening. But when Delilah reached out first, Loretta never replied. At first, Delilah thought her sister was just spending time with Yalchin and couldn't reply. However, later that same day, it was Yalchin who unexpectedly called Delilah himself.
Yalchin asked me if I had heard from Loretta. He said that he hadn't seen her since the day before.
Growing concerned, Delilah tried calling Loretta multiple times, but each attempt went straight to voicemail. After exhausting all efforts with friends and family, she finally decided to call the police. On February 17th, 2014, Halifax Regional Police Officer Christine Fraser received a report from dispatch. Miriam, Loretta's mother, had informed them that her daughter was missing.
I knew my girl would not let me go that long without even hearing from her.
Miriam urged the officers to first speak with Loretta's boyfriend, Yalchin Circleté, as he was believed to be the last person to see her. Later that day, Officer Fraser visited Yalchin's home. He said he last saw Loretta on the morning of February 13th around 10 a.m. when she left to return to her apartment, just 3 kilometers away. Yalchin also noted that she drove off in her blue Toyota Celica and hadn't been seen since, but they had continued to communicate via text messages. Loretta had sent Yalchin a message saying she was meeting a friend and would share more details when she got back. That turned out to be the last text he ever received from her. This mysterious friend could have been the key to finding Loretta Saunders, but Yalchin had no clue who she was meeting.
He seemed sincere in his feelings, being upset, worried. I'm not discounting him 100%. So if new information comes to light or we're not able to verify the information that he's provided, then he's still available for further investigation.
When my partner and I left Yelchin's apartment, I recalled looking right at him and saying, something's not right here.
Meanwhile, the missing persons unit was called in to take over the investigation. Corporal Jason Hurley and Detective Scott Browers were sent to search Loretta's apartment.
You're trying to determine whether they're missing because they don't want to be found or they're missing because some foul play has befallen them.
No one answered the door, so the building manager let the officers inside. The apartment showed no signs of disturbance. It looked lived in, with groceries on the kitchen counter and food in the fridge. Nothing suggested that anything violent or suspicious had happened. With no other clues, the officers began knocking on neighbors' doors, asking if anyone had seen Loretta Saunders recently. One resident mentioned seeing Loretta's roommates leave town for the weekend, but no one had seen Loretta herself. The police continued their search for witnesses and eventually discovered a surveillance camera in the main lobby. Yalchin told officers that Loretta was supposed to return home 4 days earlier, and the footage would reveal whether that was true. It had been 4 days since anyone had heard from Loretta Saunders, the pregnant university student. Her boyfriend, Yalchin, told police that on the morning of February 13th, around 10 a.m., she left to go to her apartment, just a 15-minute drive away. The building superintendent rewound the lobby surveillance footage to 10:15 a.m., the time Loretta was supposed to arrive. Nearly 45 minutes passed with no sign of her. Then, at 10:57 a.m., a young woman finally entered the building. Based on her slim figure and long hair, the building manager identified her as Loretta. The video backed up Yalchin's story. Now the investigators needed to uncover what happened after she walked through that door. They sped through hours of footage, but after Loretta stepped into the elevator, never appeared again. Investigators knew combing through every second of video would take time, something they might already be running out of. So, they made a copy of the recordings and took it back to the station for further review. Meanwhile, detectives began questioning Loretta's roommates, 25-year-old Blake Leggett and his girlfriend, 28-year-old Victoria Henberry.
She told me that she was in Prince Edward Island visiting an uncle.
Victoria claimed that she and Blake had been 200 miles away with family and hadn't seen or heard from Loretta in days. Lieutenant Hurley requested access to Loretta's bank records, hoping that any recent transactions might offer clues about her whereabouts in the days before she vanished. On the morning of February 18th, Delilah Saunders flew in from across the country to meet with detectives face-to-face. She brought new information about Loretta's boyfriend, Yalchin.
Delilah told us that there was some indication that Loretta may be terminating the relationship with Yeltsin.
Delilah explained that the couple had been fighting a lot lately, and Loretta had been seriously considering ending the relationship.
That made me extremely suspicious of him.
This was a critical piece of information, but before detectives could act on information about Loretta's boyfriend, her bank records arrived. They revealed that her debit card was used at a Tim Hortons, 6 hours after she was last seen entering the elevator. This confirmed that she had indeed left her apartment. The Tim Hortons was about 10 miles from Loretta's home, indicating she must have traveled there that afternoon. Noticing a security camera near the coffee shop's drive-thru window, investigators promptly requested the footage from February 13th.
I'm hoping that we're going to see Loretta on the CCTV footage at the Tim Hortons.
They fast-forwarded the video to 5 p.m. on February 13th, just before the transaction, and hit play. At 3:01 p.m., a blue Toyota Celica pulled up. Movements could be seen inside the car on both the driver's and passenger's sides, but the driver remained out of clear view. So, the investigators switched to the interior cameras of the coffee shop. Initially, a staff member blocked the view of the driver's seat, but eventually stepped away. Behind the wheel was clearly not Loretta or her boyfriend Yalchin. It was a white man with a very short haircut, possibly even bald. The detectives suspected this was the mysterious stranger Loretta had mentioned to Yalchin. Since the man was driving, it was likely that the missing girl was in the passenger seat. Detectives switched to a third camera covering the coffee shop's exit. The blue Toyota pulled onto the street and quickly vanished from sight. The investigators then began canvassing nearby shops, checking every available surveillance camera.
I'd like to make a national plea to see if anyone has seen her car or has any information. Someone had to have seen her car. She's the strongest person I know, that we know. She is so strong, and that's what's keeping me going through this.
About 100 yards from the car's last known location, they reviewed footage from a camera near the Sobeys grocery store. Vehicles moved steadily through the parking lot, and customers entered and exited the store. Suddenly, the officers noticed headlights illuminating a car parked close to the building. drawing their attention immediately. At 4:59 p.m., the blue Toyota pulled away, and a girl stepped out wearing a light blue jacket, the same one Loretta had worn in the Tim Hortons footage. As the car moved forward, the girl walking alongside it became clearly visible, but something seemed off. Switching to an interior store camera, investigators saw that Loretta Saunders wasn't anywhere in the footage. The girl who exited the Toyota Celica didn't match her description at all.
Loretta was a small, thin woman with light-colored hair, probably not much more than 110 or 115 pounds.
The unknown girl left the store, climbed into the passenger seat, and the car drove off. On February 19, 2014, Loretta Saunders' blue Toyota Celica was spotted 2,000 miles away in Harrow, Ontario. Local police arrested the driver and passenger and brought them to the station.
The male identified himself as Blake Leggett. The female identified herself as Victoria Henneberry.
The pair turned out to be Loretta's roommates and matched the descriptions of the suspects seen on CCTV. When detectives asked why they had Loretta's car,
They told the Ontario Provincial Police that they had purchased the car from Loretta Saunders on Thursday, which would have been the 13th.
they said they had stopped to grab coffee and groceries before leaving town. Initially, their story lined up with the surveillance footage. But when police interviewed Victoria, her story first matched Blake's. Yet she had earlier told officers that she and Blake had been living apart in different parts of the country when Loretta went missing. Now, she said they had actually traveled together to visit friends over Valentine's Day weekend. During a search, police discovered Loretta's phone in Victoria Henberry's possession and her bank card with Blake Leggett. The two were then transported 2,000 miles back to Halifax for further questioning. It became clear that they had used Loretta's cards on the day she went missing, indicating she likely never left her apartment as previously thought. Investigators went back to the surveillance footage from Loretta's building on February 13th and started reviewing it again from her arrival. At 2:28 p.m., a bald man who appeared to be Blake stepped out of the elevator carrying a large hockey bag. He returned shortly afterward, holding a bag in his hands. At 2:59 p.m., the young man stepped out of the elevator once more, this time lugging even more bags. 3 minutes later, he returned to the lobby. Then, at 3:27 p.m., Blake exited the elevator again, this time with Victoria Henberry, and both were carrying suitcases, making it seem like they were moving out. After that, Blake, Victoria, and Loretta were nowhere to be seen. The detectives rewound the footage to when Loretta first arrived. Her roommates were still in the apartment. Then, about 3.5 hours later, Blake appeared again, struggling to carry a heavy hockey bag. It was clearly heavy, sagging in the middle, and he was carrying it awkwardly. Yes, exactly what you're thinking about. Loretta Saunders was hidden inside the hockey bag. Still, without recovering her body, the police couldn't formally charge Blake and Victoria, both of whom remained silent. Luckily, officers discovered a video on Blake's phone showing Victoria, who appeared clearly drunk.
This is why Victoria should not drink.
You really think I don't want to be with you? When I'm
and if
sober?
And if you...
Stupid?
Why? What have I done?
You can't even say that you really want to kill Loretta. You said that you want to kill her earlier.
When did I say that?
You're a liar. You're the one who said.
You
kill
just
Loretta. I
you
can't wait
just
till
said.
she comes back.
Lead interrogator Sergeant Anthony McMell was brought onto the case to get a confession from Victoria Henberry.
She was much more emotional. Her body language had a defeated look to it. I think she was having an internal struggle of whether or not she should talk to the police about what she knew or what she had done. And ultimately, she decides that she's going to disclose information to our interrogator.
It didn't take long for him to uncover the motive behind Loretta's death. She had been killed over just $600 in unpaid rent her roommates owed her. She had come home, sat down on the couch, and started confronting them about the money, demanding they pay what they owed. That's when Blake crept up behind her and pulled a plastic bag over her head. Within minutes, she stopped struggling. He stuffed her body into a hockey bag and loaded it into the trunk of her own car. To cover their tracks, Victoria used Loretta's phone to send a fake message to Yao Chin, pretending she had gone to meet someone.
It shows just a complete disregard for the feelings of the family. They were actively lying to the family and to the police in order to make their escape.
When she's sending those messages, people think Loretta's alive, and she's been dead for over 24 hours.
While security cameras had captured Loretta's blue Toyota Celica near a Tim Hortons and later at a Sobeys parking lot, Loretta herself had been in the trunk the entire time.
Where's the hockey bag now, Vicky? Vicky? I don't know. Vicky? Look at me. Vicky? Where's the bag, Vicky? You already told me you killed her, and you were there.
Eventually, Victoria gave in and led police to the spot where she and Blake had disposed of the bag. 13 days after Loretta vanished, detectives discovered a black and white hockey bag dumped in the woods alongside a highway.
She's frozen, she's clothed, she's in the bag, zipped up.
There were 11 different layers of saran wrap that had been wrapped around her face. Just a shocking image. It really says a lot about the individuals that did that to her.
In 2016, Blake Leggett pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and received a life sentence, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Victoria Henberry pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and became eligible for parole after serving 10 years. With her parole eligibility approaching on September 25, 2024, the Parole Board of Canada granted Victoria Henberry a 30-day temporary release. She was allowed to stay at a halfway house, attend programs, and do volunteer work. However, partway through her release, Henberry was caught breaking the rules. According to the board, she used a phone and went on the internet, two things that were in violation of her release conditions. She started talking about suicide. As of now, Victoria Henberry is still serving her sentence and remains behind bars.
I met a lot of evil people before. And to me, I don't know, it's gone past evil. There's nothing ever going to make me forgive them.
Losing my sister in this way, it's affected a deep part of my soul and my heart.
I often wonders what her little baby be like.
It's almost impossible to grasp that a life could be lost over just $600. While surveillance footage proved instrumental in piecing together what happened, no amount of evidence or justice can undo the pain. For Loretta's family and friends, life will never return to what it once was.
I just miss talking to her. To me, she's just not gone. She's not dead. She's just gotten away.